monthly webinar series. We've been trying to hold these as webinars, and I think thankfully COVID-19 has helped in that way. Although the webinar sessions don't allow for more networking opportunity, I think the fact that we create smaller group settings actually gives us an opportunity to get to know each other really well. So before we get started, a couple of quick things. I have opened up the chat window. So, you know, obviously this is a time for you to meet all the people who are not only chapter members, but also people from our community who are involved in elderly care and, you know, interested in aging and the problem of aging and longevity. So feel free to, you know, drop a message into the chat and connect with the community. You're more than welcome to put in your LinkedIn profile or an email address in the chat box so you can reach out to people. We are a small group, so I'm thinking we might have a quick couple minutes to do a round of introductions if you want to start. And then, you know, we'll probably have to stop if the group becomes bigger than this. I'll go first. My name is Aparna Pujar. I'm the chapter ambassador for the Los Gatos chapter of Aging 2.0. I also have a day job running a high-tech startup that is building solutions for aging in place using IoT, AI, and artificial intelligence and IoT space. And then I think I kind of want to take it to the team members first, and then we'll extend it to the other group.
Great. I'm Catherine Wise. I am a team member of the Los Gatos chapter. I'm an occupational therapist by background, and my doctorate work was at Boston University looking at the transitions of older adults out of hospital using telehealth technology. I do a few things. One of my other jobs is as a professor, and I'm teaching online this semester, teaching both within the gerontology space and within the leadership and management domain. And glad to be here.
You want to go?
All right. My name is Bethany Dent. I am a new member of the Aging 2.0, and after I talked to Aparna, I became a member, like a part of like the committee, which is great. And so Sunnyview, I work at Sunnyview Retirement Community, and it's in Cupertino. We have all 3 levels of care. We have the skilled nursing, we have the memory care, and also the residential independent living, assisted living. So it's a pretty big. And also we have a portion of affordable housing as well. Nice to meet you all.
Great. Louis, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Louis. So I am a financial professional with New York Life. Before my financial profession, I was an engineer. So I worked for in electrical engineering for about 30 years. So I am part of the Aging 2.0 is because New York Life provide one of the major products is long-term care insurance. So I do want to get with the senior committee and see how can I help on providing more information on people about the long-term care insurance side. So as earlier, people know I am a crazy fisherman. So people want to go fishing, let me know. I always looking for fishing buddies.
Great. Jack?
Yes, I'm Jack Mormon. I'm the chairman of nonprofit U.S.-Japan MedTech Frontiers, where our mission is to promote and facilitate collaboration between medical device companies in the U.S. and medical device companies in Japan. Our webinar is coming up on October 12th, 13th, and 14th next month. In previous years, this is our 7th. It would have been our 7th annual. The previous 6 years, we've done them spending a week in Japan with conferences and symposia and meetings and other events. Also, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and in addition to medical device companies, I'm doing consulting now on agricultural technology. Thank you.
Great. Anyone wants to go next? Olesia will hold off because we're going to talk about you anyway. So.
Sure, I'll go. My name is Rebecca. This is my first time to join this. I just found out about the Aging 2.0. This is an area that I have found of personal interest. both, because of both my parents, my in-laws. But I have been working in the area with youth, and I'm looking and thinking about transitioning, but also this is an area that I've been interested in pursuing just for my own interest. And so found out about this organization and thought I'd join. And Jack, it's funny that you're talking about U.S.-Japan relationships. A zillion years ago, I think my first job out of college was setting up, doing joint ventures between U.S. and Japanese companies, way back. So,
Great. All right. Sorry, I think I'm going to have to stop. But what I encourage you to do is, if you have questions, do post. And when you are posing the questions, I would want you to introduce yourselves to the speaker and to the larger community. Without further ado, let's get started. I want to welcome Olesia Chikunova. She is the founder and CEO of HomeWIP. It's Olesia and I met actually at an Aging 2.0 conference almost 2 years ago. And we were at the time budding entrepreneurs and bonded in many ways because I was trying to get into this space as an outsider from the industry, and then I think Olesia pretty much has a similar path. So I'm really excited to be introducing her to this community and to this forum. And as a fellow entrepreneur, we share a lot of notes and exchange a lot of notes on how to get into this market and how to make it work. But real quick on Olesia's background, she's obviously the CEO of HomeWIP, and I'll let her introduce herself as we go through her talk. She is working on a digital construction concierge tool that is helping homeowners build their home equity through construction projects, from accessory dwelling units and aging in place modifications to major construction projects. She also produces and hosts a series of online events on how to plan, finance, design, and build your backyard cottage, and primarily targeting Californian residents, rightfully so. We are what we call as home rich but cash poor, many of us, but that is what it is. And it's really helping Californians to find a way to make the best use of the real estate assets that they have. And with no further ado, Olesia, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Aparna. And it is a pleasure to be here. And I think you've nailed it when you said that both of us 2 years ago were looking into bringing these ideas that we had in our heads and the best way to bring it to the market. And ironically, actually, I was not successful when I was trying to bring a product for aging in place into the market, because I kept talking to potential customers and they will tell me, oh, we will plan for it when we are 70. And I go like, I'm 50, I'm already planning for it. How can you wait till you're 70 to plan for it? So basically I had to rewrite everything that I was talking about at the time and start from scratch. And this is where you find me today with something exciting that actually the Californian government helped me a lot in this. And let me start sharing my screen so that you can see what I'm working on. Because, like seeing is always better than just listening. So where all of us have found ourselves at the beginning of the year is that suddenly our homes became everything: office, school, gym, assisted care facility, daycare facility, and we all desperately needed space. And what we see is that the needs are very different. And what moves me as an entrepreneur is that I don't like to see people helpless. I want people to know that there are solutions out there that could help them, whatever their housing needs are. And we see today that sometimes it's an extra space for an older parent, or a space for kids who cannot afford their own separate home. Or we need a home office because now suddenly we are not able to use our traditional office. Or sometimes we just need additional income that will support us in our retirement years. And And this is one of the products that we're working on. It is called accessory dwelling unit. It is promoted by the Californian government as a solution to the affordable housing problem. And I am a certified ADU specialist. I talk daily to different people in the construction industry, and some of them do not know that this solution exists. And those some of them include, unfortunately, contractors, architects, and designers. So that's why I run the bi-weekly events on Eventbrite, so that more people are aware that the solution actually exists. They just need to figure out what is the best way for them to make use of the solution. And accessory dwelling unit obviously works only for people who are in the fortunate position to be a single family homeowner. But what the new law did, they made it possible for a single family homeowner to basically make a triplex of their own single residence, still keeping it as a single family residence, but being able to add to it the attached or detached accessory dwelling unit, or ADU as we call it, because accessory dwelling unit is such a mouthful, and people are more used to in-law units or granny flats. But also have a smaller portion of the house as a junior accessory dwelling unit. So basically you can have your main house, a junior ADU, and a separate ADU, using all of it for whatever needs there are, whatever your family today needs. It's just that the person who is helping you on this journey needs to know quite a few things about ADU, its laws, and its little details. And just to put it into perspective, because the construction, obviously, especially in the Bay Area, is a very expensive business, and people will, will think that they might be able to build something for $70,000, and unfortunately, this is not what happens. What happens is that the smallest conversion starts from 130, and the average 500 unit will be around $200,000. But what it does to your property is amazing, because it just grows the property value, and it gives you the opportunity to get the additional rental income when your family stops using that additional space. And it is a fantastic way for freelancing professionals to be able to save money for their own retirement. It is an amazing instrument for a mother to save money for the college education for their kids, all the while helping everybody with affordability issue. You can tell I'm pretty passionate about it. Another thing that is happening is something that, for me, being originally from Russia, for me, it's like going back to your roots, because multi-generational living has been here for centuries, but now suddenly we are starting to appreciate it more. Yes, we are kind of forced by all these affordability issues, but also when we found ourselves in the shelter-in-place situation, we suddenly started to appreciate having people around, having the support system close by. And another thing is that when you look at the house itself, it's another concept that is also growing as we speak, and that's called co-living. And in a funny way, both co-living and multi-generational living, if you look at it from the construction point of view, they require the same basics inside the house. And basically you do need to think of like two big issues. One is the sensible design, so that every person inside the house is able to use the house comfortably. And the second one is that if you do decide one day to rent it out, you do have to remember that you need to have this landlord skill set, as I call it, because not everyone has this experience. And when you do it for the first time, of course, it's scary. But again, this is where we spend a lot of time on. We are trying to help people figure out the design issues in a way that it's an investment and not an expense. And this is where aging 2.0 comes in, because I think you guys have to be the advocates of this approach to the housing in general, because we want comfort for all inside the house, so that we don't have to spend time and money in 5 years' time to adjust our house to the new needs. And I don't want to go into universal design principles, because that's a big topic, separate one, but keeping it simple, we are looking at the design being flexible, being intuitive, so you don't have to figure out how to use this or that fixture, and then it should minimize hazards. So there shouldn't be shelves that are hard to reach, and there shouldn't be something that you have to bend so low that you might topple, you know, just for the sake of an example. And to put again into perspective, usually people think about those 19% they do have disabilities. And they think, oh, yes, those people, they need grab bars, they need extra safety issues, extra safety measures into the house. But we do forget that 15% of overall population have issues with, and now I've lost the word. It does sometimes happen to me. You know, when you feel like you need to hold on to something. What's the word? It just totally is gone from my head right now.
Balance. Balance.
Balance, yes, thank you very much. So 15% of the population have issues with balance. So from time to time, they need to hold on to something. And if the places in the house are not equipped for it, it's an issue. And then, yes, 5% of population is pregnant on average, and they do have special requirements for the environment, but 71% in US is obese. And most of the homes that I see, they're just not for that part of the population. So if people are thinking about renting it out, like they literally say, like those 70% of people, we are not renting to them. We are renting to those 30%. And just to go deeper, 13% of people have issues with hearing and 6% have issues with eyesight. So when we design the house for today, and we are not thinking that this is something that might happen in some time to anyone in the house or to somebody who is coming in, this is just this is something that we should always think about when we invest money into construction. So this is where I come in. And I got here in a, I didn't start my career, as you have heard, in construction. I started it in Johnson & Johnson, actually selling consumer goods, Johnson's baby shampoos in the middle of Russia. I was one of the first sales reps in Russia for Johnson & Johnson. I got into the space as a homeowner, and specifically so as a homeowner who moved to US 5 years ago and started building here. And it was my number 8 house to build, so I was not a novice, but it was my first house to be built in the Bay Area. And the guy who was helping me build, he was actually in a wheelchair, but he was helping me such a lot with his, advice and support and everything. I said, well, this is the guy I want to invite to my housewarming party. And I'm already like building. And then I suddenly realized that, wait a minute, he will not be able to enter the house because I have not thought about it in advance. And that's what started me off on this journey. And that's what I'm trying to bring to people with as much numbers as possible. And this is the number that I love to, that's my MBA hat, right? Where my business personality comes in, like it actually is an investment. And it's proven that if you do the design right, it brings you reduction in overall costs later on. Yes, it is an upfront investment, but it's an investment that pays back. And I'm happy to hear that there are some occupational therapists here, because what I want people to do when they work with us is that they have the solution that they can just take a picture to their contractor and tell them what to do. Because one of the things that I found out when I started working on my own wheelchair-friendly bathroom in my own house is that I was hearing a lot of stuff from people like, oh, I worked with the contractor, he did an ADA bathroom for me, but I cannot use it. It's just not comfortable. And I just couldn't understand what was wrong until I realized that the contractors, what they do, they Google. So they Google ADA, and then they do whatever Google tells them to do, without thinking as an occupational therapist, like, by the way, this house is for you. You are 6 feet tall, so the grab bars need to be here, not there. And this is what I would like to help occupational therapists do, be able to visualize it so that the contractor does not need to be an occupational therapist, but knows what we're talking about. And of course, being a technology company, we want to make it as simple as possible to build a house, and in this case, to build an accessory dwelling unit. So we're approaching it like, let's figure out your new house like you're buying a car these days, be it a Tesla or a Porsche. And unfortunately, the house, you know, like I didn't pick this particular, I mean, I did pick this model, but I was not looking at the price. But basically, this car starts off at the same number as most of the accessory dwelling units. So this was a bit of a surprise. And what we do, we talk to the homeowners, we listen to their needs, match them to the best construction method that will satisfy this need, configure the interior design because it drives the scope of work, and then we build the EDU for them. So that's why we call ourselves a concierge service, because we don't want the homeowner to run around several contractors and try to figure out by themselves, because they don't know the new construction methods. They don't know if this contractor has the experience building an ADU or not. So it's just a lot of information going on that is often not even correct. And that's why we're trying to be an advocate for the homeowner, take something off their plate, and build a better house and have the better experience building as well. And just as a kind of short video about how we think about building a house like a car, because we do have 3D models where we let people select what they want in their future home. And often people who say that they actually want, you know, like, I love gray and I want my cabinets gray. When they start working here, they say, oh, by the way, maybe you're right, maybe white is better. The main thing is that we take the guesswork out of it, because you can see how it will look. You can say, no, that's not what I was thinking about, because, you know, like the floor plans right now, I mean, you look at them and there's just too much information on it. And what we do is like, well, let's bring it to life. Let's see if that's how you would like to move around. That's what we do. And I think I will stop sharing here. I'm sure that I've talked too much. I think I'm ready for your questions. I'm sure I missed something along the way, Aparna.
Great. Thank you so much for introducing HomeWIP for us. I think before I open it up to the audience, there are a couple of questions that I wanted to ask specific to what I'm reading in the news today about trends changing in the industry, especially people at this juncture after COVID-19, where they're contemplating whether, you know, they want to move their parents into a nursing home or take steps to, you know, modify their own homes and make them capable or ready for accommodating their elderly parents and loved ones. I know you and I have worked on a project, and we helped a customer do that, basically using Zemplee and what you were doing. But can you share with us what you're seeing in the industry, and what is sort of like your firsthand experience in where you're seeing this trend today?
Thank you for asking this, because actually that's one of the things that drives me, because I often see this cries for help on social media where people will say, oh, I've got my mother in an assisted living facility, but I'm frightened that she will, she will not be safe there. I want to take her out. What do I do? Help me add on to my house. And a lot of construction people will jump in and say, oh yeah, we know how to do it. And the important thing is, it's not just how you build a house, it's how you build a house that is comfortable for somebody who is 80 years old. And that's a different thing. And I do see this happening when people actively look for a solution to bring the older parents back home. I also try to educate them that you have to build carefully, you have to build in a way that is comfortable for them, that is not causing issues down the road. And actually that's when I recommend working often with occupational therapists, because after all, we are builders, right? We don't know how this the health issues will develop over time. That's where we try to invite OT in so that they can advise the what else we should be prepared for. So that's definitely something. Another curious thing that I do see people joining forces, older people, say selling one house, moving into the second house, splitting the house in a creative way so that they could support each other as they retire. And that's not exactly co-living, because co-living kind of assumes a bigger crowd, but it is kind of a sort of co-living where they both have master bedrooms, comfortable places for personal space, but they do things together for, dinners and other activities.
Great, thank you. I will now open this up to the audience. So if you have your questions, feel free to, I guess you can just ask them, and please remember to unmute yourselves, and then just go ahead.
I have a question for you. In terms of your marketing, where are you getting most of your customers? Since, I can think about when somebody's got a parent or somebody who needs additional help, who, all of a sudden they realize the need, and it's like, oh no, now I've got to do something. But with the planning process for ADUs and everything else, you need to be starting to think longer term. As you say, I'm planning at 50 now for retirement, or for what I need at 70. So most of us who are in our 50s are not necessarily thinking about, maybe I need to do that. Or anybody who, when I'm buying a house, if I'm in my 30s and I'm buying a house, I'm surely not thinking about an ADU for parents, way, way down in the future. So I guess my question to you is, how are you going out and marketing your solution, which I think is an amazing solution from what I'm hearing now?
Thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Marketing is a huge issue. As I mentioned, I had this customer 2 years ago, and I was trying to help her actually design an ADU, and she was telling me, oh, I have 2 years to plan it. And, I'm a startup, I'm happy to help you, but 2 years later, we're in shelter in place. She's still in planning phase. And that's sad to me, because we could have built that house for her. And that's why I do the events on Eventbrite. I do them regularly. I try to mix and match cities. I do reach out through Nextdoor when we have something that's city specific. I also work with real estate agents, and I also work with nonprofits because part of what I do is education, and the builders are actually grateful that I'm doing it, because all these customers, they talk to me at scale, they don't talk to them individually. So they are grateful that educational part is on, because it's always hard to be the bearer of the bad news that actually it is not going to cost you 70,000. It's going to cost you at least 130. So no contractor wants to do it. And what I hate in construction is the change order. I really, really hate it. And that's why I started this business. But people were telling me, look, you're telling us how to complete the project. We want to know how to get started. So that was one more of my pivots as a startup, where I had like, oh, you don't know how to get started. Okay, let me backtrack a bit. So education is a big part, and that's why I'm here today, because I want you to know about it. I want financial planners to know about it, so I reach out to them as well. I want insurance people to know about it, because when somebody comes to them about long-term care solution, they also need to give them the opportunity that they can help finance it today, because it's such a flexible option that it's amazing that we are not using it more often.
And I'd actually say that I challenge the comment about people in their 30s not thinking about it. I'm middle to late 40s, but the last two people I've known who've built ADUs have been people in their 30s, and they're using it as a caregiving option. So they have their parents who are early retirement, haven't been able to save or give their house to their children, and they've been using it as a caregiving option, especially in the time of COVID, when the trust around hiring an outside nanny isn't really there. So I think what the ADU experience can really show is the continuum of care. And I think from a marketing perspective, what we need to think about with aging at home or aging in your environment of choice is a continuum. ADU is just one aspect of it, but thinking through like how not only will that person fit in there, but how would if they change their level of care, could you support a nursing person come in, or PSW? Where would they sit during the day when that person is sleeping? And so I'm wondering if you've had conversations with a lot of the agencies that do more continuum of care, so that, you know, if they're supporting people in their community now, having those conversations with them to say, listen, I can build the unit, but you have to provide the services. And have you had sort of any conversations about a wraparound service that way?
Great idea, and something we
okay,
should
then
be,
I'll market it. All right.
this should be done definitely. What I can tell you, the way I started with ADUs, you don't think I'm not as smart as I might sound. I actually was pulled into ADU space by a customer, and actually Aparna knows that customer personally. So she came to me with the aging in place bathroom for her mom. And then said, by the way, I'm thinking like, if my mom ever needs a caretaker, where do I put him or her? And this is something that I found, and I think I should build it. And I looked at it and go, excuse me, my lady, this contract says somebody will build your home from 150,000K to 250,000K, and you are telling me you'll sign this contract. And I'm like, no. We are not doing that. We'll go into full scope before you sign the contract. That's how I got pulled into, and that's why I got my certification as ADU specialist, because it's this is not how it should be done. I mean, the homeowners need advocates like all of us here, just to show them the different ways to do it. And we are completing this ADU as we speak, and continuing this conversation like, okay, caretaker, or rental income, how do I figure all this out? And you know, the aging customers, it changes day to day, so the needs change. But with this flexibility of both having the unit there that is age friendly and the age friendly bathroom inside the house, she's free to do what she wants. Yeah,
I see a lot of people who their conversation starts with like a nanny suite or a au pair suite, but that they also have flagged that for their parents to eventually move in or to help with caregiving. So I'm seeing a lot of that change in conversation right now.
Yeah, and to your point about 30-year-old people, there are interesting ways people treat this ADU. I mean, I've seen friends buying the main house and then building an ADU so that both have separate quarters, but they're sharing the mortgage payments. I've seen divorced parents who it's an amicable divorce. They don't hate each other, but they cannot afford buying a different house. So they're doing ADU so that they could share the care of the kids, but remain kind of in separate quarters. So it's amazing what people do with it.
No, there's a lot. I've just in the last 6 months, especially with this happening, I mean, you can't find a contractor. I mean, you know that, right? Like I have a few friends who've earmarked contracts to get stuff done and they just can't build right now. So, yeah.
So I have a separate question. How does having an ADU or not having an ADU, if you're an elderly person trying to figure out your options for, say, the next 10, 20 years of your life, perhaps, what should I be as say a 70-year-old or an 80-year-old thinking about in terms of making an investment in an ADU while I'm being bombarded by, you know, financial people to reverse mortgage my home? So how does that play into this scenario?
Thank you for calling it a scenario. And this is something that is very important, because one of the answers that I've heard most during my events with various specialists and professionals in the space is it depends. And it truly depends on your home equity, on where your site is, how the property is maintained. It's such a multitude of different things that influence the solution. Another thing is that financing exists. Reverse mortgage is probably, I shouldn't be quoted, but in my opinion, it's probably one of the worst ways to finance it. I have a chart and it has I think about 15 different solutions. No one finances the ADU with just one unless they have the cash sitting there. Usually it's a mix of HELOC or some other refinancing options, some savings, some credit cards, and some other financial instruments. There's a new wave of startups coming into place because they know, I mean, everybody's saying, equity rich, cash poor. It's buzz phrase right now, right? So the startups obviously are looking into this as well. So there are those instruments available, and part of the reach that we do is actually we're also working with brokers, because we need brokers to be educated about it so that they can help customers, mortgage brokers, they can help our customers figure out what is the best mix for them.
Great, thank you. Anyone else has questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, and I'll introduce myself as this is my first Aging 2.0 meeting. I'm Chris Clausen. Delighted to be here. My background really quickly is about 25 years in digital product management, customer-facing products in the fintech and e-commerce space. I've taken a sabbatical and decided to pivot my career and focus on technology-based solutions and how they can impact seniors positively and their caregivers. So I feel like I'm in the right space. So thanks for having me there. And a lot of my interest has been driven from just taking care of family members and friends firsthand and thinking, God, there's got to be a better way than this, and then finding out there really hasn't been here before. So my question is really around two, if I could ask them. One, could you just categorically talk about within the Bay Area, the warming in different communities around ADUs, like as far as allowing them? Because historically there have been certain communities that have prohibited them or put just crazy restrictions that make them not feasible. So just categorically, what are you seeing? And then my second question is, and I think you were addressing it when you were talking about, it sounded like two friends splitting a house, but are you seeing, people in their 50s, 60s banding together and even doing more than 2 units, almost creating like a little pocket neighborhood on a piece of property? I don't even know if that's legal, but I'll pause.
I'll just write down the second question so that I don't forget when I talk about the first one. So about the community, you're right. There are communities that I don't know if you've seen it. There are like yes to NIMBY, like no, not in my backyard, and yes in my backyard, like two separate extremes. But we do have government in California, and the government decided that ADU is a great solution for their affordability crisis. And they basically did the ordinance that tells towns and cities and everyone in California that we are allowing by right. So if you have a land that can physically take this unit, and it's not more than 1,000 square feet, you should be allowed to build it by law. They've gone even one step further. They are allowing grandfathering units that are already built as accessory structures, like garages. They are allowing them to keep even smaller setbacks than if you were building a new one. So if you're building a new one, the setback is actually very lenient as well. It's just 4 feet from the fence. When we're talking about side and rear, it's more from the front, but nobody's building. I mean, you're not allowed to build the ADU in the front normally, though I have seen one built. But normally it's not allowed. It should be a backyard cottage. And they've done amazing things legislation-wise. They've limited the impact fees. They've almost taken away the parking requirements. Like, it's amazing what an instrument it is today. And it has been done, it has been signed off last November and has just been active as of January. And to your next question, that's what I meant when I was talking about co-living. That's exactly what you're asking about. When you do need to rethink a house to be able to do that, because typically the local houses will have, like 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. This is not how co-living is supposed to work. So you need to reconfigure the house itself. But I do see people doing it. I actually have a colleague in Oakland whose partner, before he moved in with her, was totally against anything co-living. Now that he has been actually living in such a co-living space, he's like, I don't know why didn't I do that before? So I do see this happening. And there is another trend that is not about ADU, but also about sharing spaces. I know there is a couple of companies that are actually rebuilding the houses and building a community. And it's actually one of them, it's called, an unfortunate name in a way, but it's called opendoor.io. Not the other open door. It's a small open door, but they've got a very interesting concept where they say it is not just a house, it's a community. So we need to build a community around one common interest. So I remember when I was talking to them last, they were working on a community built in they're rebuilding the bigger house and to be able to host, to make home for many people to rent. But they were building it in agriculture. So they wanted people who are in love with gardening. So they will find somebody who loves gardening, and then they will slowly pick other people who will live in the same space. So a variety of things are coming up.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, Olesia. Thanks for sharing the information with us. So did any of your clients ever utilizing long-term care insurance as a funding source?
I think we need to do another conversation with you, because I think you'll make a perfect guest for one of my events. Because the insurance, I don't want to scare people, but I've got a chart of 28 professionals who need to be involved in anything property related. And it starts from, architect, and it actually ends with insurance and maintenance people. So, and I do go like one by one, and I pick them for my events, so that there is somebody from a financial advisor speaking how you should look at it. And there is someone who is doing foundations only, who will speak like what should be in the scope. So insurance is definitely on my list.
Good, thank you.
Great. Any more questions? All right. Yeah, we have about 10 more minutes, but we don't have to. I am very happy to give you back 5 or 6 minutes so you can get back to things. But thank you again, Olesia. This was a very, very eye-opening and informative seminar. As someone who is in my 50s, I am seriously thinking about, aging at home and where I want to age. And I feel like the world is going to look at this as a serious need. Some of us are so bogged down with our daily lives that we don't think a step ahead in terms of what we want to do. But I think the time is now to sort of take a step back and really rethink and relook at how you want your, I guess, going by the mortality rate or longevity rates now, the next 50 years of your life to be. Which is quite formidable if and intimidating if you really think. Hopefully we will all be healthy and have a fantastic life, but it is really the second half or the second innings of for many of us, I guess. And so thank you again so much. This event is recorded, so I will be posting it on YouTube, and I'll be sharing a link with the rest of the group. So if you want to go back and revisit some of the points or learn more about what Olesia is doing, you're more than happy to do that. I'm sure Olesia will be happy to share her deck. Can I get your deck as well with your contact information so we can post it as part of this? Just a real quick update. We have 2 upcoming events, one in October 5th, and this is part of, again, Los Gatos Aging 2.0 chapter's monthly webinar series. Our next guest is actually Dr. Aaron Blythe. He is a passionate caregiver who has been a voice out there for the large caregiving industry. He comes from the caregiving background. He used to run a home care agency, but he's recently launched a book called When Caregiving Calls. And we're actually going to be doing a book review for a change and sharing some interesting anecdotes as he has gone through his own personal experiences and now, really at the vantage point where he is looking at the industry and sort of carving out or influencing how this space has to emerge over the next 20, 30 years. So the information about this event will be on our chapter. It's on October, first Thursday of October. So watch out for that. The following month, November, we actually have Dr. Nathan Estrada. He is a VP for a company called Nimble that actually has a mobile app that trains people on avoiding falls. So again, a tech company. So definitely tune in for that session. I think it's going to be very interesting because, whoever is in the aging space knows that, fall detection and fall prevention is the most important thing to be addressed. And meanwhile, if you have any questions or you want to reach out to me, definitely email me at losgatos@aging2.org.com. And of course, you always can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm always available there. And we continue to look for more volunteers to join our team. So if you want to volunteer in any capacity, more than happy to have you on our team. And please spread the word out. We want to see our community grow. So do encourage your friends, families, members, fellow professionals to join our community here. With that, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. And hopefully you found this as useful as I did personally. And Olesia, thanks again. It was fantastic.
Thank you for the opportunity and happy to be of service.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
How did it go?
Oh, it was fabulous.
Okay.